You didn't say Uncle Milton, did you?
For
You got a
another-
different name for Milton. His uncle.
Now for another chapter of the Overton effect.
You what?
Hey, Jason, can you hear us?
Jason, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Hold
Hello,
on,
can you hear
Jason.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Volume's pretty low, but we can hear you.
You mean he'd rather Zoom than see us in person?
Really? Why didn't Jason come up?
Speak into the microphone so you can hear you.
Jason, why don't you come up here?
He doesn't like us that well.
Is it too far of a trip from the second floor?
It's so many stairs.
Okay.
You and some other guy we know had a problem with stairs?
Yeah. We have an elevator.
So you're like the only guy I know that really likes to do Zoom.
Okay, it is 1:30. It's time on our schedule for a planning hearing. Ooh. And today we're gonna be taking up file number VS 0001-21. It's a Title 40 vacation of a public right of way. And before we start, we only have one member of the public here. Are you presenting here? Just here to listen? Okay. Okay, well, good to hear. Anybody have any visual or hearing impairments? I always like this because if you have a hearing impairment, you wouldn't be able to know that I'm asking if you have a hearing impairment. So
You can read lips,
Yeah.
maybe.
hearing none. Anybody out there in TV land that's tuning in that had, no, we're all good. Okay. Now I'm going to call for conflicts of interest. Many commissioners have a conflict of interest on this file.
Commissioner Bradshaw has no conflict of interest.
Commissioner Conley has no conflict.
And Commissioner McDonald, I have no conflict. And with that, we will go ahead and turn over this meeting to the planning staff to kick it off.
Thank you, commissioners. This is Jason Johnson, Bonner County Planning. We are here today to discuss file VS 0001-21. We're going to be talking about vacating a portion of a platted right-of-way. On the screen here is an image of the areas that got noticed about this application. Notice was sent out by mail, posted at the site, and published in the newspaper as required by state statute. Applicable laws on this are pretty short and sweet. There's just one, Idaho Code 40-203, regarding how to abandon or vacate a public right-of-way in a county. We're talking about just vacating a portion of the right-of-way. The entire right-of-way in question is highlighted in blue. We're just going to be talking about a portion of it, about 8,364 square feet. The entire area is zoned recreational and the land use is resort community. This slide's probably the most important slide in the presentation. This kind of shows what it is that we're talking about here. The slide on, I don't know what screen you're looking at, but it's on my left with the hatched black area.
Going with the hatch.
That shows the hatched area there shows the area that we're talking about vacating. The L-shaped area would remain if this vacation is approved. Over on the other side, it shows a proposed replat. This replat would have to accompany this vacation because if we did it without the replat, we would be leaving some lots in the back there without a legal access, which is one of the things we can't do under Idaho code. So vacate a portion of the plat and then replat so that every lot ends up with access. The site's fairly unremarkable with regard to environmental features. The only thing about it that's of note is that it fronts on Priest Lake. The application was routed to the agencies that you see on the screen. Coolin Sewer District responded, but I'm not even going to address that comment because I believe it's in your file. Jeannie should have printed off some copies. Almost about 9 a.m. this morning, they sent an email into the department rescinding their comment, so I'm not even going to address the Coolin comment. Bonner County Road and Bridge is of the opinion that the proposed right-of-way is in fact not a public right-of-way according to their standards. We did review this quite closely though, and by the standards we have to do the vacation, we need to consider it a public right of way. As such, because Road and Bridge doesn't consider it public, they don't have any further comments on this. Department of Lands commented, just a general comment, that if this was actually providing access to the beach for the public, they asked that the county consider impacts to the general public now and in the future regarding lake access. Again, there's no evidence in the record that this was ever used as a public access to the beach. It was only dedicated to the owners in the plat. All other agencies either did not reply or replied no comment. Neighbors within 300 feet of the subject property were noticed by mail on February 12th, 2021. No stormwater management plan required because we're not proposing any new impervious surface. As far as standards of review go, there's only one, Idaho Code 40-203. The commissioners may by resolution declare their intent to abandon or vacate any highway or public right-of-way, where we classify a public highway as a public right-of-way, we're doing so as in the public interest. I'm not going to go through the staff analysis because it's just a repeat of the conclusions on the next slide. On the next slide here, we have conclusion 1. We did review this for compliance with the vacation criteria in Idaho Code. Provided we accompany this with the proposed replat, we will not be blocking access to surrounding parcels by approving this replat. The second conclusion is that this is in the public interest. The terms for this vacation have already been agreed to by the interested parties in a submitted settlement agreement between them. And granting this petition will not result in any property being left without access, again, provided that we do the replat. And so recommended conditions of approval on this, the standard condition that the right-of-way vacation shall be effective upon the recording of a resolution by the Bonner County Commissioners, that the costs for legal and recording fees shall be borne by the applicant and paid prior to the recording of the resolution. And then lastly, important one on this one, that this proposed vacation has to be conditional upon final approval and recording of the proposed plat as shown in the application. Otherwise, we'll be awarding a vacation that isn't legal because we'll be creating parcels without access. So they have to go together. Other than that, not much else to it. Were there any questions?
No, it looks like you covered all the bases. That was going to be my only question, that condition number 3, which is on here. So yeah, I'm good with it. Any questions by the other commissioners?
Yeah, I've got several. So one of the things that I agree with the IDL guy is that even though this isn't maybe access at this moment for the public, it seems like we have multiple areas that have the same thing where we have got our old road that dead ends against water, and we utilize those for public access because it seems to be in the public's best interest. Priest Lake has a very limited amount of access. We kind of bounce back and forth between whether it's public or whether it's deeded to the people within that subdivision. So can you clear my mind as to what the benefit to the public is by vacating this?
Well, all evidence in the record indicates this was only ever dedicated to the owners of the plat. So for this purpose, it was always their right of way. They are the public. They've already gone to court and they've already come up with an agreement. I'm not a lawyer, but looking at the agreement, it looks like money's already changed hands. Agreements have been struck, documents have been signed. They are the public, and I assume their interests were all settled in the court case.
There's no road. There's no existing road or anything that was, no evidence of this being utilized by any of the locals to access the lake.
Except for the people, maybe the people in the plat. I
Right.
don't know, but there's no evidence in the record to suggest that.
Okay.
So who becomes the owner of it?
The applicants, I believe.
Which is the LLC.
Yes, the LLC.
because I don't know what the value of it is, but it's got to be a lot.
Yeah,
Any,
that would be huge.
every front foot up there is worth a lot of money. I just,
$3,000 to $6,000 per foot. Of course, that wasn't a taxable piece of land anyway, was it? No, so now it'll actually go on the tax rolls.
correct. But when you're looking at values, of when you're vacating something,
A little different because, and a little confusing,
quite a little, yeah.
yeah, because of the,
Idea.
Well, and I think Road and Bridge summed it up because they said it's not a public right of way now,
that's right. That's correct.
which is kind of the clinchers. It wasn't a public right of way. It was a right of way, it was attached to access points for the adjacent property owner, which it sounds like they've got this worked out in court.
So then why do they need us to vacate it?
It's a process we've got to go through legally.
Because you're literally the only one who can do it. For Idaho code, they have to go through here. Yeah.
On us.
Okay.
Okay, Steve, you got any questions? Staff?
Not anymore.
Okay, do we have anybody, does the owner or the owner's representative want to speak?
I will only speak if it clarifies things for the commissioners. And I'll just say briefly,
You speak, so
pardon me.
go ahead.
This property was originally platted back in 1960 as a resort, and that the access roads accessed a dock for the resort's use and a store that was proposed but never built. And so basically we're just cleaning this up and making it into the proposed lots that are shown on the replat. But it has been posted for 50 years, no trespassing, private property. So it was never utilized by the public, or at least legally. I'm sure there were some people who probably tried to go down there, but the adjacent property owners kept a pretty good eye on it just because they didn't want people camping and making a mess down there.
Okay. Thanks for your comment. Do you guys have any questions for the applicant? Nope.
I'm confused by by the two designations here. One, we're the ones that are responsible to vacate it because it's a public right of way. And then secondly, it appears like it isn't, or they've treated it like it isn't. And we've got multiple people like that too, that have blocked these things off and that have, they have made it to where nobody else could use them and they used them as their own. And to me, that's just wrong. And
Right,
we
but
dealt
this
with
is-
some of these up here at Ponderay Lake.
So you're
Right.
also the one that vacate platted land as well.
We're the only ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the deal with public, not public is more of a nomenclature slip, only because it's not technically public, but it's public to the point where it belonged to the parcel within the plat that it was appointed to for access, which makes it their public, not general public.
so in the statutes, under vacating plats, it says that if it's a right of way, it needs to be vacated under Title 40. And that's why this is confusing.
And so maybe it's better to just call it a right of way because it's a right of way to that parcel, not a public right of way,
Right.
even though it's considered public because that parcel is part of the public. Person owns
So
is part of the
either
public.
way, the process is.
It's the same.
It was dedicated as a
vacate
proposal
both.
50 years ago for something that never took place.
Right. Anybody opposed? Are you opposed? You're taking no position today? Really?
You
You want to say
speak?
anything? We allow neutral comments. You can use the word vanilla. It's kind of good. No.
Weather's nice outside.
Yeah, weather's nice. No, actually, it's not. Okay, well, unless we have any other public comment, anybody knows, there's nobody out there. We'll go ahead and close public comment for deliberation. I don't see the issue, problem here. Seems pretty slam dunk to me.
It was never public, so.
Be nice to you to pick up and clean up the language, because to call it a public easement without it actually being a public easement, because, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's confusing. Yeah, it's confusing language.
It
It
is.
should be a public easement, or say a public easement attached to a parcel or something in a plat. I mean, I don't know, it gets kind of lengthy.
It's in the subdivision ordinance.
Because Jeff is right, we do have a number of these. We have one right across the bridge that is actually a public easement that the road goes right up to and has
Which,
been
which
accessed.
I look at this as similar to
Right.
that. And the reason I do is because these roads were dedicated, even though it was maybe just to the people that are I live on a subdivision that's got that same wording and, or I don't live on it, but I have property on it and you can't vacate that to me.
Right, but unlike the one across the
I'd
bridge.
love you to vacate it to me, but
Yeah.
that's just not right. It's the way everybody, it's not cutting off access.
Right, but unlike the one like across the bridge, the one you're talking about, this one wasn't dedicated to the public. It was dedicated in the plat to that parcel for access to that parcel. It wasn't a dedicated access.
Anytime you
Even though it's
dedicate a
dedicated.
road to the public, it's the same as.
Right, but this isn't dedicated to the public. Technically, it's dedicated in the plat to that parcel for access.
That was the comments.
Parcels.
Yeah. But they've worked that out in court. They got a settlement. They're good to go. Yeah. They paid each other. Here's $1. Now you give me the $1 back. And,
That's not.
or does that have to be a different dollar? Yeah, no, I get it. The language is confusing. And then we have several different examples that are contradictory to this, but this makes sense because it was only a public easement within the plat. Without the plat, without it being platted that way, it wouldn't have been that way. And it's not a county road. It's not a formal public easement. Or even a private road, a public road privately maintained, which would also be a public easement.
Well, we wouldn't be here if it was private though. If
We would.
this was,
We would, if it's platted.
Yeah, this is platted. So we're in the right spot.
Well, we were told to come in here, so.
Yeah.
they made us come in here.
Didn't make us.
We just do whatever Jesse tells us to do.
Whatever's in the legal, whatever's in the notice.
According to what was on my calendar today, it said, go into the meeting room. Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, I will go ahead and entertain a motion. Do the one here under Board of Commissioners, because this other one we have to do second, so.
Okay. I move to approve this position file VS 0001-21, a petition to vacate a portion of a platted right-of-way labeled as access roadway, as shown on the submitted site labeled exhibit of proposed right-way vacation, finding that it is in accord with Idaho Code 40-203 as enumerated in the foregoing conclusion of law. And based upon the evidence submitted up to the time staff report was prepared and testimony received at this hearing, I further move to adopt the following findings of fact, conclusions of law, and conditions of approval. The action that could be taken to obtain the vacation is to complete the conditions of approval as adopted. This action does not result in a taking of private property.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And now we'll entertain the second motion on the resolution, which is on your,
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve resolution 2021-34, vacating the portion of right-of-way outlined in VS 0001-21 and subject to the conditions of the staff report.
I would second that.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes. And with that, it is 1:48 and we will adjourn this hearing.
Why don't we have